At first, I didn't think it was real. I woke up to this blinding light, and I was transported to another place. Pluto TV! Then I heard a voice.
Come with me if you want to live.
There were thousands of movies and shows, and they were all free.
The truth is ours.
It's just so beautiful.
On Pluto TV, free streaming of Terminator 2, Fringe, Arrow, The 100, and The X-Files may cause excitement, loss of sleep, and sudden belief in extraterrestrials. No credit cards or alien encounters necessary. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
The next phase of the Telluride's journey has arrived. Meet the 2027 Kia Telluride Turbo Hybrid. With 564-mile range, a new X-Line design, and a panoramic display, it packs a powerful yet stylish punch. Kia didn't just stop at great. They built it for the greater. The first ever Kia Telluride Turbo Hybrid. Learn more at kia.com.
Hello and welcome to episode 318 of the Filmmakers podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking from indie film to studio films to TV to commercials to animation to documentaries to everything in between, if there is such a thing. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to F it up, in our very, very humble opinion. I'm Giles Alderson. I'm a writer, director, and a producer, and 3-Day Millionaire is out now on Sky Movies and Prime. Go watch, go support. Today's episode, though, we have on the fantastic director, editor, screenwriter, cinematographer, and producer, Mark Jenkin. He wrote and directed the film Bait, which earned him a BAFTA award for outstanding debut by a British writer, director, or producer. His debut film, Golden Burn, won him an award at the Celtic Film and Television Festival, and he followed that success with documentary shorts and low-budget features including The Man Who Needed a Traffic Light, The Rabbit, and The Lobsterman, a documentary on the life of Cornish playwright Nick Dark. His 2007 feature film The Midnight Drive is a moving film about parentage with an exceptional performance from Colin Holt, who worked with him in the camera department on Bait. All of his films are either shot on 8mm or 16mm, and he develops them by hand. And he is back with another one. This is titled ENYS MEN. Don't be confused by the poster. It looks like ENYS MEN. It's pronounced ENYS MEN. And in Cornish, it means Stone Island. And this is his latest film, and it is fantastic. Really eerie, wonderful movie, really about loneliness. His last film, Bait, was shot in black and white. This is shot in colour with rich reds and yellows. It's glorious, but the film is filled with disquieting, unsettling moments, long shots. It's disturbing while these colours pop into your eyes. The film is set in 1973 on an uninhabited island off the Cornish coast, where a wildlife volunteer, played by Mary Woodvine, her daily observations of a rare flower turn into a metaphysical journey that forces her, as well as us, to question what is real and what is a nightmare. The film is produced by Denzel Monk and Film 4, and it has been sold by Protagonist Pictures, and ENYS MEN is in cinemas now, so do go support. Also, the cinematic DNA of ENYS MEN, it's a season which is created by our wonderful Mark Jenkin, runs at the BFI South Bank until the 31st of January, basically showing selected films, and Jenkins' own short collection available on the BFI Player now. Mark also composed the score for this film, and that's out now on Invada Records and on vinyl on the 24th of February. So if you like this eerie, wonderful sound, then go collect that and have it in your eardrums the whole time. So myself and Mark sat down at the BFI itself, the British Film Institute. We sat in their green room and had a chat all about what filmmaking means to him and what success brought to him after Bait, why they brought on Film 4 to finance ENYS MEN, why did he shoot on film and not digital, and what it's like for him working with actors, going through development hell, and what his inspirations and passions are. We also talk about why most of his edit decisions are made before the shoot, or on set, not afterwards, and why simplicity is key. A huge thank you to all those who listened to last week's episode, The Film Business Explained, our new strand on the Filmmakers podcast. We're going to do this every month, especially after how successful it's been. Stephen Follows is our main man on that. If you haven't listened yet, listen after this one. You'll learn about why directors might make a second film or third film or not. It's fantastic. Like I say, thank you so much for your support this week. Shout outs go to not just last week, but over Christmas as well. The fantastic actor Ronan Summers, Annabelle Knight, Tim Auld, Brendan Cleaves, Philip Pugh, Dan Robbins, Colin Gowdy, Aleem Hussain, Steve Isles, Jewel Jessenberger, and Mark Hampton. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for listening and supporting and shouting out your love. Now, if you want to shout out, all you have to do is give us some love on any social media platform of your choice, and we will spot it, write your name down, and give you a shout out. That is the plan anyway. And you can find us on our socials or email us, thefilmmakerspodcast@gmail.com. And there is an amazing blog on last week's episode as well. Even more, breaking it down for you so you didn't have to write it down. It is there on our blog, thefilmmakerspodcast.com. There it is. Check out the blogs, and it's the latest one. So let's get to this week's episode. Just to let you know, about 10-15 minutes in, we are joined by two members of the BFI. Jill Redding, who is doing all the PR for BFI and for ENYS MEN, and the marketing manager, Phil, for BFI Distribution. Here it is. This is our episode with myself, Giles Alderson, and the fantastic director blazing a trail all across the indie filmmaking world. It is Mark Jenkin. Enjoy. Hey, how are you?
Good.
It must feel great because ENYS MEN is out now in cinemas.
Yeah.
And it should be the celebrated bit, but it can be very difficult. You've got all the promotion to do, the Q&A, but you've still got your film released, which must feel amazing, right?
Yes, I think it's the really fun bit because there's no pressure on me now. I can't change the film, so I just have to go along and I'm reacting to an audience. Really, I mean, it's a bit of a slog doing the travel and everything, but actually, it isn't. It's not hard work. It's a sort of pleasure and a privilege to do it, really. I'll be reunited with Mary tonight, and Ed Rose, also in the film, will be here this evening. And then Mary will do all of the Q&As with me this weekend. But actually, I'm doing two that are not ENYS MEN. They're films that I've programmed for the season here at the BFI around ENYS MEN. So actually, they're intros and Q&As that I'm hosting. So that's going to be slightly different.
Wow. Are these films that inspired you, or is it your films?
Yeah, no, stuff that inspired me.
Wow.
So, yeah, the BFI just gave me the opportunity to curate a season called the Cinematic DNA of ENYS MEN, which goes on for a month. So we're almost halfway through it, I suppose. And I picked 12 feature films and then 12 shorts that are all either influence on me either formally or in terms of content or genre or style, I suppose. Right. And so I'm introducing two of those this weekend while I'm in London.
Okay. What was it? I suppose that's something that's always a nice question, is what was it that really inspired you? What was your first cinematic love, I suppose?
When I was young, right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning. Before
I suppose I grew up
thought about filmmaking.
I did grow up watching 1980s Hollywood kids films, really. Sure. So I was into things like everybody of my generation was. I was watching The Goonies and Ghostbusters and Back to the Future and all of that kind of stuff. But I always loved going to watch films, but it was seeing the mission was the big thing for me, which was, I never meant to go and see The Mission. I meant to go and see Crocodile Dundee with my dad. Who was very excited about taking me to see this film that he'd heard all about.
Yeah, of course. Crocodile Dundee was amazing.
Yeah.
That's not a name.
I was too young to get in. Oh. And it was in the cinema in Penzance, and they just opened screen 2. So they converted the balcony into a second screen.
Right.
And so my dad was quite disappointed, I think, that he couldn't take me in to see it.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, he was really looking forward to it. And so they said, we've got a screen 2 now, so you could go and watch the film in there. And they said, what is it? And they said, it's a film called The Mission. So we went and watched that, and it was just, I mean, loads more inappropriate, I think.
I was going to say, surely the rating on The Mission would have been higher than Crocodile Dundee, which is made for kids.
I think Crocodile Dundee was a 15.
Oh, it was before the 12.5 came in.
Yeah.
And
so,
okay.
and I think The Mission must have been a PG.
Wow.
But, you know, the image of the crucifixes going over the waterfall really stayed with me. And I think that was the first film that I really saw that really kind of emotionally unsettled me. I remember seeing Cry Freedom as well, actually.
Okay, I don't know that one.
That's the Steve Biko story.
Ah, yes, okay.
In apartheid South Africa.
Yeah.
You know, just being emotionally affected by films rather than it being a bit of an entertainment roller coaster ride.
Yes, which The Goonies was, and which did you ever see Crocodile Dundee? Did you? Because after you've seen The Mission, I don't know if you can go back.
I must have. Yeah, I did see Crocodile Dundee later on, but it probably missed the sweet spot for me by then. You know, I'd seen The Mission, and my eyes were open to the potential of cinema in terms of like changing the way you think about the world.
Of course, that's not a crucifix. This is a crucifix. Yeah.
And then I saw Derek Jarman's film The Garden on TV, and that was the first time I really thought, wow, there's somebody behind the camera making a film.
Right.
You know, and he shows himself filming. So it's a very, you know, the whole filmmaking process is kind of turned inside out. So that was really eye-opening.
Oh, it must have been. Jill has just brought us both a cup of coffee and a tea.
Thank you.
That's really amazing. Really appreciate that, Jill. Thank you. We are actually in BFI at the moment. We're in their green room where Mark is screening tonight, ENYS MEN, and it's a gorgeous green room, isn't it? I mean, I've been in it before.
Mirrored ceiling.
Yeah, mirrored ceiling. Oh my gosh, yeah, hi. Hi up there.
Don't see many of them anymore.
No, you don't. No, those nightclubs of old, right? Yeah. Thank you, Jill. Appreciate that. That's very
Thank
cool.
you.
Hey, Phil, how are you?
How's it going?
It's good.
It's all going well, isn't it?
It's going so well.
Do you want to come and talk real quick to Mark?
How's it been?
It's been good, and everybody said there's so much sort of coverage, and people are talking about it, which is really difficult for me because obviously it's the only thing that's going on in my head. But being on the BBC website in America today, so all of my friends in America, not that I've got lots, but yeah. So I've had my mate Chris has been in touch, and my mate Matt has just been in touch saying it's on the, you know, as soon as you click on the BBC website in the States, it's there.
Wow.
Oh, amazing.
So that's exciting, and
It's very exciting.
and the Mark Kermode.
Oh, Mark Kermode.
Yeah.
Must feel great though for you guys to be a part of it as well.
It's the best in the world. It's just been the best thing to do ever, as was Bates. We just love working with Mark and Mary and Denzel, and today's a big day.
Actual
And the
release
Hackney
day.
Picture House is selling.
Selling, yeah, we got Hackney Picture
The
House.
screen last night was nuts in Glasgow.
And that's the interesting thing. So you obviously would expect it to do really well in Cornwall and the southwest, of course, but now it's doing really well in Edinburgh and Glasgow and Liverpool and Newcastle and London. So
The only place it didn't sell out on the tour was Newquay.
Wow, really?
Yeah, but that was a huge,
like
300-seater
okay.
on at 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, and it nearly
Raining.
sold out.
Right.
well,
It was 2/3 full. Yeah, so that was...
That's really good.
Yeah.
It's so hard, but this is one of those films that it will bring the audiences out to. It's just, well, especially after the success of Bait as well. And then you're going into a film it's a Mark Jenkin film. We know what do you know what I mean? I feel like we know what we're coming to see. And I think that's what brings people out.
Yeah, I think we've got to, you know, see what the word of mouth is like.
It's already good.
Well, yeah.
It's already good.
Yeah.
Did you think it would be like that? Obviously, Bait was, you know, that great success. Did you, you know, when you were making ENYS MEN, and now I suppose like 3 weeks ago, before the reviews were coming in, did you have an inkling? Did you even think about these kind of things?
Didn't think about it at all when we were making it because all the cinemas were closed. And I didn't really know where it was going to end up at all. And then it's just little incremental steps. So getting into Cannes was a massive thing. Yeah. And then in Cannes, then the gap between the screening and the reviews coming out is quite tense.
Yeah.
And I walked out after screening the premiere, and most of the reviews, a lot of the reviews had come out and they were good. So that was another step. Obviously having the film picked up by the BFI before Cannes was a huge thing.
Yep.
And being able to announce that on the way to Cannes, wasn't it? I think that got
Literally
announced.
shouting it out the window as you're driving to the premiere. We've been
Yeah.
picked up by the BFI!
Yeah.
We got
Yeah.
it! Was there any talk of that beforehand, though? Because, like I say, Bait was that film that everyone was talking about in terms of it's a very BFI film. It feels very, avant-garde, very different, very British in that sense of, old school filmmaking. Was there no talk of that before? Did you speak to the BFI in the first place about ENYS MEN?
No, I don't think we did. No. Because of the pandemic, we were just out out on our own, and geographically we're miles from here. So, Film 4 came in and financed it, and then that was it really. We didn't really think about actually Denzel, the producer, was probably thinking about it all the time, but he wasn't hassling me with it.
Didn't tell you
No.
that. Why would he? Yeah.
No, and then, it was, it's difficult to remember, because I just think of this now as just a BFI film, and, another BFI distributed film. I can't imagine anybody else distributing it, so it's difficult to remember pre you guys being involved, really.
When we were in Bristol for that Rough Trade event, and you were telling us about it then and giving us a kind of preview.
Oh, yeah.
So that was kind of towards the end of the release cycle for Bait in some ways, when the Blu-ray's coming out. One of the last sort of events that we did just before lockdown, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were sort of telling us a little bit of the story. I remember thinking, wow, oh my God, sounds so great. And I think, and it's, almost the same. I don't know how much the script changed.
Not much. I mean, the thing is, distributions are something that I don't really have much input into to start with, because it's, the producers, and we had Protagonist as a sales agent, so I was sort of outside the conversation. But then when we got talking about it and I was being consulted about it, it seemed just, the film's made in the same way. It's the same sort of scale. It's the same team. So by the time, and the same crew, same cast. So then when the distribution was sort of, we were then considering it, it just seemed like the logical thing to do. And I sort of thought, why weren't we thinking this before? Because it's like, it's the same from start to finish.
Right. Yeah, because I thought that might be the conversation. Well, let's jump back a little bit then. It's too late, Tess.
See you later.
Thank you so much for joining in. With Denzel then and yourself after Bait, and sort of going, how are we going to do the next one? And you mentioned there, obviously it was in lockdown when you shot this. Was it a case of you just going, let's just go shoot this? You knew what you wanted to make?
Yeah. I mean, it was exactly that, but it was a long time before COVID that we decided that. It was on the back of Bait, I suppose. There's always a big gap between when you finish the film and when the film's released.
Always. People are always so surprised by that.
Yeah.
I think with people who aren't in film, they go, when did you shoot? And you say, oh, it was a year ago. People go, what? For us, that's quick. In filmmaking terms, that's actually really quick. But there's so much that's got to get done.
There was always a massive gap between when you premiere it and when it comes out.
Yes.
Because we premiered in May the 20th last year.
Yeah.
And now we're January the 13th, and it is now finally coming out. And that's not slow, particularly.
No, that's normal. We think about they've got to fit it into gaps. If they've got all these Marvel movies, they've got these movies. They've already got the conveyor belt moving.
Yeah, there's only a few slots that you can release an independent film.
Yeah.
Unless you unless you sort of put it into a sort of total suicide slot, and it won't get any attention. So when we done Bait, I was speaking to Denzel, and we were thinking about what to do next. And my agent Matthew Bates at Sale Screen as well we always talk really closely about what's best for me next, because it's quite a specific way that I work, and I've been offered a lot of stuff off the back of the relative success of Bait, and most of it was really flattering and hugely inappropriate in terms of scale and control, most of it.
Okay.
So we kind of all agreed that the best thing to do was just get another film made as quickly as possible, and not rush it, but just don't overthink it. Do something same budget, same scale, same team, like I was just saying, and finance it privately was the original plan, and
Really?
Denzel was kind of putting that together, and then Film 4
heard about it. Went, no.
Well, they just called me in and said, "You want to, what you doing next? We'd like to get involved." And I said, "Well, actually, I don't need any help on this one. We're going to finance it privately, and let's talk for the next film."
I love that power as well. It's kind of nice.
But in the end, they said, we can help without compromising what you do. And it was Ben Corrin and Lauren Dark at Film 4, and they just, they were just amazing. They just said, they made me realise that they reminded me that they knew how I worked, and that was the reason why they were in contact, because they loved Bait.
Yep.
And they weren't in the dark about how that was made and how much I kind of do and how many departments I'm across and all of that kind of stuff. So in the end, they said, we're quite flexible. We can put together a way of us financing this film, which means you won't give up a huge amount of control, and which is easy to do when you're working on a small budget. So me and Denzel took about 3 to 5 seconds to decide that we wanted to work with them, and then we were ready to go. And that was late 2019.
Okay.
I think. And then, we were going to shoot spring 2020, and then we went into coronavirus. And so we were just shut down before we'd started. Everything was in place, which was great. We had all the assurances, and the team was together, and it was all cast, and we were ready to go. And then we were shut down. And it was the best possible time. If we were going to get stopped, it was the best possible time, because we were set. We were ready to go. We had the money, but we hadn't started spending the money. We hadn't started shooting.
I see.
Yeah, okay. So it was the perfect time
Rather
for us.
Than halfway through.
Yeah. So then we just put the thing on hiatus for a year, really. And for 6 months, we didn't know whether it was going to happen.
Okay.
But then after about 6 months, it became apparent that we'd probably be able to film it in spring 21. So then I picked the script up again and did a quick rewrite. Well, not a quick rewrite on it, quite an extensive rewrite on it.
Oh, so therefore you're kind of happy now, looking back, that was okay. You'd rather have shot it, I imagine, but at the same time, you then got to revisit a script, which is always useful.
Yeah. We had forced distance, which is the one thing that's never designed in a filmmaking process.
Never.
You start, and every minute, you can't put into a schedule, right, I'm going to have 6 months where I leave it and come back to it. I think you can, in the writing process, you can probably do that, but not when you're that close to production. And you certainly can't do it like in an edit. Go, right, we're going to finish the shoot, and I'm going to just do something else for 6 months, then come back at it and objectively look at what we've got and create a better film out of it, which I think a lot of films would benefit from.
Totally benefit from.
But and I say that, and I know I wouldn't be able to do it, because I wouldn't be able to resist. It would have to be taken away from me and locked in a room.
Yeah, because otherwise you'd just start editing, you'd start composing, you'd start doing your thing.
Yeah.
Because you've got a really interesting way of working. You've mentioned it like a couple of times, your unique way. It'd be really interesting for our listeners, for you to go through that process a little bit, to talk about the why, why shoot on film, why shoot it this way.
The way I got into making films was I was doing a biology A-level when I'd finished school.
I like where this is going.
and I was totally crap at it.
Yeah, of course.
I was all right. I think I was good enough to do the biology GCSE. It kind of went to my head and thought, right, I'm going to do a biology A-level.
Right.
And then within a few weeks, I was out of my depths. I didn't understand what was going on. And I've got that sort of personality where I won't say anything. I'll just pretend. Right. And then, but it became too much. And then what I did was I started not going to the lessons. Okay. And I started hiding out in the sixth form college I was at, in the photography darkroom where my mate was studying photography. So I used to hang out in the darkroom when I was supposed to be in my biology lesson. And my mate was printing black and white photographs, and I started helping him out while I was there.
Nice.
And then one day the photography tutor said to me, he said, "You're not on the photography course, are you?" I said, "No, I'm not." He said, well, do you want to join it? And by then I was really excited about photography. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. And it was an A-level. And he said, well, you need to have done a GCSE. So he put me on the GCSE, and I did that in about half the time, half a year, right. Like a term and a half or something. Wow. And I passed it, and they were really complimentary of my photography. So that gave me such a big sort of push towards doing photography. And then I did the photography A-level in a year, and I used to do these photo stories where I'd take a series of stills that told a simple story,
like those at the back of the Sun or whatever,
but not with
Dear Deirdre.
but not about affairs and things. They were much more sort of pretentious.
Sure.
And then the other photography tutor said to me, you're trying to reinvent film. Why don't you actually shoot 24 still images a second?
Nice.
And actually create some real movement with your stuff. And he lent me a Super 8 camera, and then I got some Super 8 film, and I started making short films on Super 8, because that was 1993. Right. So you could probably get a VHS camera or a Video 8 camera or something.
Oh, nasty.
Yeah, pretty grim video stuff, but it was still kind of Super 8. So I actually, first role I ever shot, I came up to London. It was such a special occasion. I thought, all right, I'm going to go up to the big city and film up here. And actually, while I was up here for that, I came here to BFI, when it was the museum here, and just got so into film, like the Soviet propaganda train carriage that they had here. I remember sitting in that and watching a film in there.
Oh yes,
and all of that. And so that got me really. The materiality of film got me really interested in the art of film, and I carried on making Super 8 films. And I went to Bournemouth and studied it and did a production degree.
Yes.
Started shooting on video then, and then in the third year there, so that would have been 1998, me and my mate Steve got the bus up from Bournemouth and came back to the museum again, because they had, from what I can remember, the first mini DV camera was here on a plinth. And then that was the sort of future. That was for us. It was like, this is a cheap way of shooting
films. Yeah.
Although it's not cheap, I realised afterwards. You have to spend a lot of money before it becomes cheap.
Yes.
Whereas shooting Super 8, you can get a camera for almost nothing, and the film costs some money. So it was clever marketing. But then I started shooting video. Mini DV, which I loved, shot loads of stuff on mini DV. And then I just followed the technology. So then I started shooting things with DSLRs, and then, other higher end digital cameras. And, 20 years went past or whatever. And then I just realized I wasn't enjoying it. And for years I'd just been going through the motions. I had a feature film that was in development hell, which was being kind of developed as a commercial feature film shot in the standard way of the time, so it would have been on a Alexa or whatever,
and
I wasn't really excited by the form and everything like that. And then what happened was I had to have a minor operation, which was a bit of a surprise, and I had to recuperate, so I had to lay on a sofa for a couple of weeks, which I did at my mum's house. And I've told this story a lot of times, I had a box set of Mark Cousins' Story of Film DVDs, 15-hour long documentary. And so I was laid up on the sofa, and I thought, well, this is the time when I can give it all of my attention, and I'll watch it. And I watched it through twice. And then I was like, this is...
You might be the only person in the world who's done that, by the way.
I've watched it... I reckon I've watched the whole thing 5 or 6, 7 times now.
Probably, but not twice in a row.
No, I did, because when I was hand processing the negative of Bait, I had it on in the studio. I watched it all through twice. Wow. So that was really inspirational, because I listened to him, and just the enthusiasm and the passion. And I thought, laying there on the sofa at my mum's, I thought, I couldn't articulate it like him, but I used to be that excited about film. And I thought, when did I lose that excitement? And I couldn't work out when it was. So what I did is I went back and bought a Super 8 camera, retraced my steps really, and went, well, I used to be really excited about Super 8 cameras. So I bought a Super 8 camera and a roll of film, and that was it. I was sort of off again. But the world had changed because the labs had closed, so you couldn't get Super 8 easily processed at that point.
Yeah, it's just specialist places, right?
Yeah.
Probably not many down near you either.
No, and it was expensive. And so I thought, well, like, I hand process my own stills. So why don't, if I shoot Super 8 black and white, I can probably hand process my own Super 8. So I started hand processing it as well. So I really engaged with it at that point.
Love it.
And and then I started making short films on Super 8, and they ended up being in festivals, and they ended up being in sort of like the experimental strands of festivals because they were shot on film, even though they were narrative or nominally narrative films. And I picked up a few awards, and people were very interested in what I was doing with film. So at the same time as the shorts being shot on film, I then looked at this stuff that I had in development hell and thought, why don't I use this formal filmmaking approach to give a bit of energy to these projects that I've had in stasis for so long. And Bait was the one that ended up, I made a film called Bronco's House beforehand, which is 44 minutes long, to sort of test the concept. And then we went with Bait. We kind of rebranded Bait as, because it was called Shooting the String originally. Well, it was called The Holiday Park originally. And then it was called The Suicide String. And then it was called Shooting the String. And it was a found footage film. And then when I decided that I would use this new old formalist approach, I renamed it Bait. And we made it as it is. But it really does go back to that moment with hearing Mark Cousins and thinking, I want to go back to that. I was with him 2 nights ago in Edinburgh. He came along to see ENYS.
You told him, obviously, this story.
Yeah, I told him when I first met him in Edinburgh when I was there with Bait. But we met up again the other night, and and he's still got that enthusiasm, and and it's really contagious. And so it was really nice to sort of
be on that
to
wave.
see him again.
With other people. I've never shot on film, and it's something that I really want to do. Even hearing you talk, and I've watched some of the Mark Cousins documentaries. I've not watched the 15-hour one, but I there's something amazing about film, and what I like about digital is I'm a bit of an actor's director. That word, whether I'm or not, that's what I like to be. I like to take time. I like to play, and I've always wanted to know. Obviously, when you're shooting on film, and maybe I'm wrong, but you've got that window where you're going, look, film's turning. We haven't got time for you to run in and go, hey, just take your time, okay? I want you to go, because the film's turning. Whereas on digital, I can do that. I can spend time doing that and going, no, just keep it rolling because everyone's quiet and still and the smoke's perfect right now. You can do it, but on film, it's...
That sounds like my absolute idea of hell.
Really? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, completely. Because mostly because I think I would get in the edit and go, right, I've got all of this stuff, all of this footage, and for me, all of my decisions are made on the shoot. Most of the edit decisions are made while I'm shooting, and it has to be then, because that's when everybody's sort of creative energy is focused during the shoot. And it dissipates it goes in post because I don't have all those collaborators with me. So I like to make those decisions. They're ultimately my decisions, but I draw on what everybody else is thinking and doing. And so a lot of the time there's only one way that I can edit a scene in the edit because of the way it's shot, because I decided how it was going to be edited while we were shooting. And if there isn't a way that it's going to work, then that's when when I really restructure it in the edit. So my films will always be a combination of scenes that look exactly how I imagined they were going to be when I was shooting them, or bear no resemblance at all to how I imagined they were going to be during the shoot. But I think, I do have that period of play
rehearsal time, right?
Yeah.
Not when the camera's rolling, everyone's quiet, and
No.
everyone's ill.
No.
Because there's something magical about that moment that I just described. There's something so wonderful when everyone's just still and no one can move and everyone's told to be quiet and all the doors are shut and it's just you and the actor and you can just play, and it's just you and the camera person and you can just play, and you've got this. Honestly, it makes me feel so alive in those moments because that's my time.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting how we're both in the medium of films, but you're actually shooting on film. Do you know what I mean? But it's a different thought process. But we're both getting to the end result.
Yeah, and I think, you know what, I couldn't make realism. You know, I couldn't do realism.
Yes.
In the way I work.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think if I was making, if I wanted sort of naturalistic performances and that kind of thing, then I would probably have to change the way that I work. But luckily, I'm not interested in realism.
So you're fine.
Yeah.
And that's why it works so well, because you are a different voice. It's powerful. It's like that's your niche. Whereas I'm just another filmmaker, a handful of thousands of us all doing that similar thing on digital. We're all trying to make the thing. What's interesting for me as well is I can make a totally different film in the edit. Whereas you said you can't. And I like that.
I can, but it's totally different. So like I said, there'll be scenes within, I'm trying to think of an example within ENYS MEN which is completely different to the script, and I can't at the moment. I'm still a bit too close to it, but like I know in Bait, for example, the scene where the younger fisherman has the fight and falls off the quay. Sure. I really bodged the shooting of that. You know, it was dark when we were shooting that, and we had to light the close-ups for daylight. We were so, I was just about to say we were so disorganized. It's nobody's responsibility other than mine, because effectively it's an action set piece that I didn't plan. And so then I had to plan on the hoof while we were filming it. And I didn't get all of the pieces of the jigsaw that I needed in the edit to put it together how I imagined it. And it's because I hadn't imagined it in enough detail. So then when I got into the edit, I had to create something that was completely different. But I did it not out, I think the difference is I didn't do it out of choice, I did it out of necessity.
Right.
So you can choose how, you know, if you have all of this coverage and all of these, you know, lots of footage, then you've got choice.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm put in a position where it's like, right, this scene doesn't work. I've got to work out a way of salvaging it. Mm-hmm. Same in Bait with another sort of fight scene where the young girl, the character of Wenna, headbutts the second homeowner and then throws the pool ball at the car. There's no geography shots in that. Mm-hmm. There's only close-ups of action and reaction, and then there's almost random cutaways to stuff. Yeah. Again, totally misplanned how to do it.
That won you a BAFTA that moment.
It's my favourite scene in the film.
There you go.
And the only thing that salvaged it was that I think it's like about 17 shots or something, and I needed one more shot for a pause.
Yeah.
There needed to be a pause, and the scene didn't work without the pause, and I needed a shot. And I couldn't think what it was. I didn't want to cut away to something that wasn't in the scene, which quite often I do. I didn't want to flash forward or flash back at that point, because it would have been, the tension was building, and it would have broken that. And so I shot a scene of Ed's character, Martin the fisherman. Yeah, Ed Rowe. He's holding a crowbar because he's been trying to break the wheel clamp off. And I thought, actually, if I just have a shot of him, of the crowbar hitting the ground as if he's dropped it. So you don't see him drop it, you just see the crowbar hit the ground. Mm-hmm. I filmed that out the back in our backyard while I was in the edit, and I was operating the camera. Mm-hmm. I was holding, from what I can remember, I was holding a light, and I think I was sort of holding the light in my mouth, in my teeth. And I leant round the front of the camera with the crowbar and ran the camera at sort of 54 frames a second, whatever the fastest frame rate on the camera is, so that I made sure that I captured that moment. I did 2 takes of it hitting the ground, put a massive sound effect on it in the edit, and suddenly that scene worked, and that was the piece of the jigsaw. There's another scene, with the scene where Neil, the young fisherman, falls off the quay. There's a moment of tension in that Georgia. There's a close up of Georgia Ellery that I found where she just does this look with her eyes, and that saved that scene. You know.
And was it taken from a different part of the film? Or
no, it was taken from then, but I didn't notice her do it when we were shooting, and it's a big close up. So normally I kind of remember, and I've only got one take of most things anyway, so I do remember the takes.
Wow.
And
you're not worried about it getting corrupt or some?
No, I'll normally do a safety.
Yeah,
but it'll be a technical safety, so it won't be any different. So yeah, that's. But it's pointless really, because I always do that safety directly after that. The first one, so if that roll is knackered, they're both going to be knackered.
Anyway. Whereas digital, it's usually each, I'll say take, for the lack of a better word right now. Then if you stop that take, that bit could be corrupt,
safe,
but the rest of it will be safe, yes. But what I find is, because I'll turn over way before I say action, because there's someone saying, get the smoke ready, just tweak those lights. But I've already turned over. And they're the moments on my actors when they're preparing, they're finding a moment, they're just getting in character that I will use, because it'll be an eye look or a look away. And it'll be so natural.
Yeah.
They're the bits I often use in the end film.
Yeah. There's a bit in ENYS MEN like that, actually, where the people have mentioned, Mark Kermode was talking about this the other day with me when we were recording a Q&A. And he said there's a bit where Mary's character sings along to the song in the kitchen that's playing on the radio, and even Mary sort of remembers it as singing along to the song, but it's not how it happened, because I didn't know there was going to be music playing in that scene when we did it, and actually she's saying something to me out of character. I think she says like okay or something, because I've said cut and she said okay. And because I don't record any location sound, I put the song over the top of it. Actually, if I line that up, she could sing the end of one of the lines of the song, because it's the first time we hear her voice in the film. So I thought that'd be quite nice. So I do that. I sometimes have instances of that, but I'm the opposite of you. I'll call action before I run the camera, because I don't need pre-roll for sync or anything, because I'm not recording sound. So every foot is really important and really valuable.
Ooh, what's that? It's music in the middle of the podcast. It can only mean one thing. It's sponsorship time. We are delighted to be sponsored by Q Scripts. It's a script analysis service. Annual membership package costs only £60 a year. It includes monthly webinar and Q&A sessions with industry professionals, including commissioned writers, producers and directors. You get a discount on all services offered by Q Scripts and access to a 36-page quarterly industry magazine brimming with useful content, industry insights and interviews with writers, plus free entry into the monthly prize draw with a chance to win a free detailed script report. Check out qscripts.com. Link for ease. To make it easier for you so don't have to type it in is in the show notes. Just scroll down, click on it. There it is. qscripts.com.
One crunchy bite of a Hershey's cookies and cream bar, and I'm taken right back to college move-in day. I was a little overwhelmed by the newness of it all. Boxes were everywhere. I needed a break from unpacking. But just as I was able to take a breath and open my Hershey's cookies and cream bar, my new roommate Rachel walked in. I offered her a piece, but she said no. Then after a beat, she said, actually, those are my favorite ones. We laughed. The ice was broken, and we've been friends ever since.
Hershey's. It's your happy place. Hey, I just Venmo'd you for rent.
Nice. Now I can instantly spend it whether I'm checking out online with Venmo or using a Venmo debit card.
Say more.
More exactly. Because the more you do with Venmo, the more you get. Like earning up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash on a bundle of brands.
So, order more pizza.
The math demands it.
Get the Venmo debit card.
Venmo Stash bundle terms and exclusions apply. See terms at venmo.me/stash terms. Venmo checkout not available at all merchants. Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A.
How much rehearsal do you do then? You obviously rehearse before you get to set as well? And then
No.
So it's all when you're in location?
Yeah.
In
No,
character,
I don't see the point
costume.
of rehearsing when you're not in set, because it's different.
It is,
a
you're right.
different world.
Rehearsing in this room now and then going to set, you're a different mindset. We're not wearing the right clothes, different feel.
And also, I mean, and like things like table reads and stuff, I've never done a table read because and the dialogue's not important. It is hugely important, but it's not important I don't want to over rehearse the dialogue, and a lot of the dialogue is functional. There'll be moments where the dialogue is really important. There is sort of very important lines of dialogue in ENYS MEN when in the scene where there's the real human interaction. That's really important. And in instances like that, I'll let the actors lead it. If they want to block it through, if they want to rehearse it, then we'll make time for them to do it because they're the most important people. They're the people that are sort of emotionally vulnerable in those moments and kind of exposing themselves. So I'll let them lead it. But then again, everybody I work with kind of knows how I work.
Sure.
So and they know they can refine things when they come and revoice it, or when they come and voice stuff. So yeah, I'm not big into. I don't insist on rehearsal for the sake of it. If the actors want to rehearse it,
stunts, I suppose you obviously for safety to block through, or moments of heightened drama, or
the stunts in ENYS MEN, I just hand it over to a stunt coordinator.
Okay,
so
fine.
It's not.
It's his fault then if it goes wrong, or her fault.
Well, it's his people. He brings in.
Of course, the safety.
The stunt in ENYS MEN was performed by a stunt woman.
Yeah.
And I take a back seat because it's all about safety, and
they know what they're doing. That's the thing. That's their job.
Yeah.
So
and they're the.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we did that stunt, I didn't call action or anything. It was all done by the stunt coordinator, and it was a stunt coordinator working with the production designer and the stunt woman, and that was really it. It was the stunt woman, the stunt coordinator, and Joe Gray, the production designer, who made the glass roof that the stunt woman had to fall through, and that was it. You just stand back and you go, right, well, just when you need me, give me a shout, but you're the experts, and it's a technical exercise. It's not something.
Yeah.
And it's got to be led by the person who's in charge of the well-being of the people involved. So,
agreed.
And then, there's other moments. There's sort of more action moments where that aren't stunts, but will need a lot of technical blocking and stuff like that. And then there'll be more time to kind of make sure that they're going to work.
Yes. How many people do you normally have on set then? Because it's very little, in terms of. Do you record any sound anyway? Do you record anything when you're there? Nothing at all.
No.
So there's nothing. There's no one there with a separate sound kit.
No.
Okay, so you've got your production designer.
2 production designers.
2. Okay.
Yeah.
Is one of them doing art? Is one of them resetting, like props?
We all sort of on the crew. All of the roles are overlapped.
Yeah.
So they kind of Joe and May, they work together
doing it, right?
Yeah.
So how many of you in total? Most days?
12 probably. Yeah. Okay. And then some days a lot less, some days more. If we had the days when we had the groups of extras in, we'd have a bigger costume and makeup department come in. And then maybe 10, 15, no, 20% of the running time of the film might even just be me going out, sort of a secondary shoot to pick up a lot of the flora and the fauna stuff and the shots of the sea and all that kind of stuff. And that would have just been me.
Right. So how many days was ENYS MEN shot for then?
21.
21. Okay.
Yeah.
So talk us through an average day. Maybe there's a couple of scenes, there's a couple of actors. Talk us through how you work from the beginning of the day.
Well, on ENYS MEN, we shot it during the second lockdown, the end of the second lockdown. So we were very restricted. We didn't meet up really before the shoot, didn't have production meetings or anything. We had a few location visits to the exterior locations. And we shot all of the cottage interiors first.
Okay.
And we had 5 or 6 days to get all of that done.
Yeah.
which was a huge amount of work.
There's a lot in there.
And yeah, I think we shot a third of the film in the first 6 days.
Wow. Okay.
And then we moved outside, and
Right.
then we obviously slowed down a lot because we were outside, because there's just travel and logistics,
Weather
and all of that. So I don't know if there is an average day.
What do you like to do when you first get to set then? Do you all turn up together? Is it that kind of thing? Is obviously you're shooting in the middle of nowhere, so I can't imagine.
No, we're shooting in the centre of the universe.
It is the centre of the universe, and it's beautiful, but it's minimal.
Yeah, we've got a sort of transit van, size van for the lights. I drive a small hatchback car that has the camera kit in the back and a wheelbarrow. That's what I take all of my kit is taken around in a wheelbarrow. Production design, the design team have a big long wheelbase van, and that's it. Yeah, I mean, there's no trailers, there's nothing like that. There's Denzel, the producer, owns a selection of Easy Ups gazebos, which is our production base. And that's it, really. We have Andy's Loos, which is
Andy's Loos. I've used those guys.
So they're always there the day before us dropping the toilets off, and then that's really it. And we use caterers who come in. Kara's Catering came in and with a big Range Rover with a hot plate on the back, and they would come in. They would come in give us a hot breakfast and leave us with a cold lunch.
Yep.
And then they would turn up again at the end of the day with a hot dinner, and they would come and find us wherever we were. So it's there's no luxury, there's no home comforts really. And quite often, I mean, some days, because we had this freaky weather on ENYS MEN where we didn't have a single drop of rain for the whole shoot, which is unheard of in Cornwall in March and April.
Yeah.
But I think we did a deal with the devil, which meant it didn't rain. But what we did get is this huge wind blowing all the time, which was visually brilliant. The whole place looks alive, but it's quite draining shooting in that wind. And sometimes we would go back, we would be there for breakfast at the unit base, and then we would go down the cliff and be filming for 5 hours or whatever, and then we walk back up for dinner, and we'd go, where's the unit base? And they just had to pack it up because it was all getting blown away, and then we'd sit in cars and eat, and then go back again. So I think people who make very low budget films would be quite surprised at what we look like when we're shooting. We're pretty invisible, partly because there's no sound department, so we don't make great demands on the people. We can go in and not piss off the residents because we don't stop people from doing anything. We work around people. We're very aware that we're guests in locations, and so we don't stop anybody from doing anything unless it's absolutely essential. Then we might ask people to just hang back for a minute, but we certainly don't have to wait for audio and stuff like that. So,
which is usually one of the biggest issues: the plane going overhead, the noise, a bang over someone's line, and you do it again. And actually, we all know now we can do this in post. Yeah. It's so important to get the best sound you can on set. But when you're shooting,
the best sound on set is nothing.
Yeah,
just don't get any.
Just don't get right. It works for you.
Yeah, I know, and I'm being like flippant saying that, but I do. For me, going into the edit with total silence is a brilliant starting point, rather than having imperfect sound that you have to start mending.
That's so interesting.
It's the start of a creative process. I find that a bit depressing.
Yeah, you're so right, because there's nothing worse than going, because you can just hear the sound of shuffling and noise and stuff like that. And you have
especially with us, we were trying to portray an abandoned, uninhabited island. Yeah. We didn't shoot the film on an island. We shot the film on moorland in West Penwith, but it's noisy. There's the cottage that we filmed, the exterior of the cottage has got a farm right next to it.
Right.
And visually, we just framed the farm out, and suddenly it's a cottage that isn't next to a farm anymore, and used big bits of gorse to hide certain things that gave that gave away the fact that it was part of a working farm. But you can't frame out audio on a tiny budget.
No, you can't.
So you just don't record any.
And do you know what you were saying about going into the edit? And just because then you can go, well, I know I can put sound there, I can do this, and you can build from silence.
Yeah,
which
and sometimes
powerful.
you can create. Sometimes the idea of creating naturalistic sound from scratch is then so much work that then I think, actually, can I do something else? I don't have to try. I don't have to do all of this sound work that nobody will ever notice because they'll just think it's natural sound.
Yes.
Maybe there's something else I can do that will be less work and actually work better, you know, because low budget film, you know what it's like.
Yeah.
Sound is more than 50% on low budget film because it's a much cheaper part of the process than doing the picture.
Yes.
So I like to embrace the sort of possibilities of that.
Yeah, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's scratch sound, so at least you'd have some, I don't know, but that would be interesting to see what you come up with, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Do you do, before we wrap up, do you do any, obviously you go through in detail and you edit, you sort of editing as you go, but you're also thinking about that. Do you do shot lists? Do you go through, so you plan it almost to an inch?
Yeah, there's got to be a shot list because there has to be a very detailed plan for the day. So but then the shot list will change.
Of course.
Because you go to a location and the light will be in a different place to where it was before. And suddenly you go, actually, that bit doesn't work anymore, but this bit looks amazing. And also you get to that point of the day where you go, right, we've got 2 hours left and we've got 11 setups to do. Let's try and get it to 7 setups. Can we tell the scene? Because for me, it's all about simplicity. Just simplify it, remove things. Can we do this scene in 7 shots rather than 11 shots? Actually, now we've got it to 7. Can we get it to 6?
Sure.
Can we get it to 5?
Yeah.
You know, I never go to 1. I don't want like a wide.
Yeah.
You know, as you can see from my work, I don't really like wide shots like that. Colin Holt, who works on the camera with me, he worked for a long time in sort of regional news gathering where he'd have to tell a story visually in a certain amount of shots. So he's great, you know, say, right, can we get this down to 5 shots, this scene? You know, because we've got an hour. Yeah. So actually, if we say 10 minutes a shot, we could get 6 shots, but, you know, we'll run over a little bit. So let's try and get this in 5 shots. And I love all of that, you know, just simplifying. So yeah, it does change, but I wouldn't be able to sleep if I didn't have a shot list for the next day when I went to bed, even if it was just nonsense.
Yeah, but it's your nonsense and it's in your head.
Yeah,
and there's nothing
it's
worse.
Like the safety net, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the safety net. There's nothing worse than being on set and suddenly going, oh God, what's next? What am I supposed to do? There's nothing worse.
No. You've got all those people waiting for you to make a decision and to say something.
Yeah.
So you've got to have something written down that morning.
Yeah, I agree. So you don't have a first AD then? You kind of do it yourself?
Yeah. I have a first AD.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
First AD, or I work with Callum, who is a writer. You know, he would never first AD. Well, he hasn't. I don't think ever first AD'd for anybody else. You know, so we work in, the roles are quite unconventional in our films. But he's great because he is very organised. He's very diligent, but he's also very sort of sympathetic to the way that I work. So, and he knows me very well. We're very good friends. So, yeah, he's great.
Great. I suppose having teamwork is vitally important for you then, and that team you carrying on, and you're going to carry on with, I take it, to the next one?
Yeah, I mean, we there's discussions to be had about, because we're going to have a lot more budget on the next film.
Great.
So there might be some restructuring that needs to be done, but that will be done in consultation with the team, because it will be sort of financial considerations as much as anything. So it's talking to people and saying, actually, you know, do you want to carry on doing this role and be responsible for this part of the budget, or would you prefer to work within a, know?
Yes.
But it's. I mean, the people that I work with are absolutely indispensable, and at the moment I'm on this tour and all the attention is on the film and on me, because I'm the one touring with it. Hopefully tonight, now that Mary is with me, she'll quite rightly get a lot of the attention over the next few screenings.
Quite rightly, she's amazing in the film.
But I didn't make this film on my own, and it wasn't me and Mary who made this film. I do a lot on my films, but I have a small brilliant team of collaborators who, because of where we are and because of how people have learnt by doing, and away from the main conventional workflows of the industry, have created incredibly unique ways of working. And I couldn't make any of my work without those people. But they rarely get, well, like most films, the director gets all the attention. But I think in my case, quite often, some people almost think that I do everything. and I really don't.
Yeah, it's all about teamwork. Mark, this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
So there we have it. You can go out and make your film on whatever camera you have in your hand, whether it's a mini DV, whether it's a 16mm film camera or your iPhone. You can go do it. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, as Mark Jenkin has done, it is your responsibility to send the elevator back down. ENYS MEN is in cinemas now. Go watch it. Stunning piece of work. And the cinematic DNA of ENYS MEN, the season created by Mark Jenkin, runs at the BFI South Bank until the 31st of January. And the selected films and Mark Jenkin's short collection is available on BFI Player now. It will be released on Blu-ray and DVD on the 1st of May. Mark, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a joy.
Great to chat.
Yeah, really great. Good luck with this. This is so exciting that this is another one of your films that literally celebrates what you do and puts your voice and your team's voice out there even more. So
thank you.
Best of luck with this.
Thanks a lot.
Before you go, if you enjoyed listening to us today, please consider supporting the podcast on Patreon.